Hi, this is John Grant with the REI Policy Institute. The Institute is a lobbying and educational group funded by Randy Patrick, an investor in Tampa. You can learn more about us at reipolicy.com. You can sign up and subscribe to our YouTube channel and also to our Facebook as well. And you can get our newsletter there, which provides a lot more detailed information on lobbying efforts and market information on institutional activities, things like that, and some political information as well. It's $99 a year, which is a good deal. So again, reipolicy.com for all that stuff. First of all, I want to apologize for the lighting or lack of, but I wanted to film this tonight after the debate before, I kind of started hearing other people's thoughts on it. It's always best when you see something like that not to, listen to anyone else and just sort of form your own opinions on it. Although, ironically, I'm now sharing some thoughts on it, so whatever. But anyway, I think one of the takeaways specifically for our industry was a brief kind of back and forth when Secretary Clinton mentioned that Mr. Trump cheered on the housing crisis. I think Mr. Trump kind of sniped back, that's business. In a debate that had an awful lot of time spent on things that weren't necessarily policy related. That was one of the few things, and really probably the only thing I think that was relevant to, distressed property folks in terms of business. You may have found some other things relevant to you as a voter. But I wanted to talk about that comment for a couple minutes. First of all, I find it a little bit bizarre because whenever, she says that he cheered it on, it's almost as if that means he made it happen by cheering it on. He's not a warlock, right? And he doesn't have magical powers, and people don't have magical powers that if they wish something to happen, it will happen. There are some folks out there who believe that. I've never found that to be true, or I would have been on that stage tonight. But so I think it was sort of an odd comment, and perhaps a reflection on what Secretary Clinton thinks of the industry. Now, I don't want to read too much into it because, again, she wanted to take as many shots at him as possible and vice versa. But it concerns me when look, there are certain businesses where people profit when things kind of go south. And it is a function of markets. And that's true in the stock market, certainly in real estate, and in really every industry has an element of it that, kind of cleans things up if the industry hits, a downturn. It's, as I said, a function of those industries. But by making that comment, there seemed to be a resentment that if you're in that type of industry, you somehow want bad things to happen to people, and it ignores the fact that those people who help clean up when something bad happens, with the economy or in an industry, they are actually performing a service. That perspective on business concerns me greatly, and it made me a little cautious seeing it. But anyway, that was sort of the relevant thing specific to our industry that I saw that struck me. I think at the end of the day, we want policymakers to understand how business works and how markets work, and And whether that was just a one-off comment or whether that was part of, a larger policy theory, I don't really know, but it did strike me. Overall reaction from the debate, I think a lot of people will be struck by, I think it'll be viewed as sort of an angry and a lot of kind of sniping back and forth. And I think that's unfortunately a pretty fair reflection of where the country is politically. There's anger online, there's anger in the streets, and so while a lot of people will look at that debate and notice perhaps some hostility or anger, and while it may not apply to their own lives specifically, when you look broadly at the country right now, it has been for a long time not just divided, but very evenly divided. And I think that to say that there isn't a significant amount of anger in our politics, I think is dishonest. There just is. So, or what we're seeing on television is perhaps is a reflection of us to a large degree. Maybe not us as individuals, but us as a collective. I think so. I don't know how it'll impact the election right now. Things seem fairly tight. I've done other videos on my thoughts. Again, I'm not here to tell people who to vote for or why. But whenever a candidate says something about this industry, this business that you're all in, that I represent, I feel it's my job to share that. You can watch some previous videos on that I've done on the election to cover sort of where the parties are. Also, briefly, in terms of my lobbying efforts, I think things are looking fairly decent for the Mortgage Forgiveness Debt Relief Act. That's the short sale tax break. It went from very little chance to zero chance to, I think, as I said, about a coin toss on whether or not it happens. Why can't I give a more specific answer on that? It's simple. It hasn't been decided yet, but I know that it's at least on the table, given the feedback I've gotten from members of Congress. So that's a heck of a lot better answer than a simple no. But as I've said before in previous updates, if we don't get the extension, at the end of this year, next year will be a fight to make it permanent, and I think that's an important one for the industry. And I think we'll hopefully get some help from the realtors on that. They've led the charge on a lot of this too. So we'll see how that goes. Also, in our newsletter coming up, we've seen some pretty good information that I think investors should know about in terms of the market and pockets of the market that have shown distress or signs of a bubble. Now, mind you, I'm not cheering it on. I'm simply reporting what's going on out there. But again, I think these are legitimate opportunities to go in and to both make money and to help distressed property owners, and to kind of further, I've talked about this a lot, this notion of there are so many artificial factors right now impacting the housing market. I think what residential investors, distressed property investors do is sort of bring the market back to reality. We find out how much a home is really worth, and you find people who can actually afford them and can sustain owning a home. So anyway, that's about it for this week. I just wanted to touch on that one issue based on the debate that we saw tonight. Next week, I'm going to talk more extensively about the lobbying effort and also a little more on market data that we've talked about. Again, reipolicy.com, and you can get all of this, a lot of good information, much more extensive than what we cover on the YouTube channel and on Facebook, in the newsletter that we put out every month. It's an annual subscription. So I appreciate it. Thank you.